The invitation John Carter was just an ordinary man. He worked as an engineer on the edge of human space in a small space station called Delta Post 9. He fixed machines, checked systems, and drank bad coffee. Every day was the same, but one morning something strange happened. He found a silver box outside his cabin door. No one saw who left it. It was smooth, cold, and had no buttons. Just a small symbol glowing on the top. A blue circle with 3 stars. John looked around. The hallway was empty. He picked up the box. Suddenly, the top opened by itself. Inside was a scroll. Real paper, not a digital screen. The writing was not human. Strange curved letters danced across the page, and yet, somehow, John could read it. You are invited to the royal wedding of Princess Xiana of Ziraon. Your presence is honored. He blinked. Was this a joke? He checked the back of the scroll. Nothing. No instructions, no time, no reason. Just that one line. The wedding of an alien princess? John laughed and tossed the scroll on his bed. But an hour later, a red light blinked on the station's landing bay screen. Unregistered ship requesting dock, it said. John went to look. It was a beautiful golden shuttle shaped like a bird. No one on the station had ever seen anything like it. The station commander asked, "John, do you know anything about this?" "I think it's here for me," he said slowly. The shuttle doors opened. Inside stood 2 tall aliens wearing silver robes. They bowed deeply. "Honored guest," one of them said. "Your transport to Zirion awaits." John stared. "You sure? You've got the right guy?" "Yes," the alien said. "You are John Carter of Earth. The princess has chosen." Chosen? What did that mean? Before he could ask, they gently guided him inside. The shuttle smelled like flowers and metal. It was silent, smooth, and fast. In minutes, the station disappeared behind them. Stars rushed past the windows. John didn't know if this was a dream or a kidnapping, but part of him was curious. Very curious. After a few hours, the shuttle entered a glowing blue field, like a shield made of light. On the other side was a planet full of clouds and shining towers. It looked like something from an old science fiction movie. "Welcome to Zirion," the pilot said. They landed near a floating palace. It sparkled in the sky, resting on nothing. Dozens of creatures flew around it, some with wings, some in small ships, and some with glowing suits. John stepped out. The air smelled like rain and sweet fruit. A crowd waited for him, not humans. Tall, thin beings with long faces and shining eyes. They all bowed when he appeared. "What is going on?" John whispered. A woman with green skin and golden hair walked forward. Her dress moved like water. "You honor us with your presence," she said. "Please follow me." John was led through golden halls and glass bridges. Everything was bright, clean, and full of color. Music played from the walls, soft and strange. They brought him to a guest room larger than his whole station back home. Food waited on the table. Clothes were laid out on the bed. The walls showed images of the royal family. He saw the king, old, wise, with heavy eyes, the queen, proud and tall, and the princess, Zayana. She looked young, strong, and not like any alien he had seen before. Her eyes were bright silver, and her picture seemed to watch him. As John stood staring, someone knocked. A short alien with blue skin entered. "The wedding begins at sunset. You must be ready." "Wait," John said. "Why was I invited?" The alien smiled but didn't answer. "You will understand soon." Hours passed. As the sun began to set, the sky turned orange and purple. Bells rang across the palace. Alien guests arrived from across the stars. The wedding had begun. John was given a long black robe and silver boots. He walked through halls filled with floating lights. Everything felt like magic. Then he entered the royal hall. Hundreds of creatures sat in silence. At the front, the royal family stood near a giant crystal flower. The king raised his hand. Let the wedding begin, he said. Everyone turned to look at John. He froze. Wait. Me? The princess stepped forward. She smiled. I choose him, she said. The crowd gasped. John's mouth opened, but no words came out. This can't be real, he thought. But it was, and it was just the beginning. The wedding that changed everything. John Carter stood frozen. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at him. Bright lights floated in the air. Music stopped. Silence fell across the grand hall. I choose him, Princess Zayana repeated, her silver eyes fixed on him. John's heart raced. What is happening? He thought. He was just a guest. He didn't even know why he was invited, and now he was being chosen by the princess? At her own wedding. The crowd whispered. Some were angry. Some were shocked. Others seemed afraid. The king stepped forward. His voice was deep and calm, but carried weight. The right has been spoken, he said. The old law allows the princess to choose her bondmate before the ceiling. A tall alien wearing silver armor stepped out of the shadows. His face was tight with rage. Your Majesty, he said, bowing. I am Lord Vekar. I was promised this union. This human is a mistake. John slowly turned to look at Vekar. The alien looked powerful. Dangerous. You were promised nothing, the queen said sharply. Only the princess can choose, and she has chosen. Vekar's eyes burned with hate, but he said nothing more and stepped back. The priest, an old creature with glowing tattoos on his skin, walked to the center of the hall. He opened a book made of stone. The bond will begin now, he said. Wait, John shouted. I don't understand. I'm not part of this. I didn't agree to any of it. The princess walked toward him. She didn't look angry. She didn't look afraid. She looked sure. You were brought here for a reason, she said. You don't understand it yet, but you will. Why me? John asked. She hesitated for a moment, then whispered, because only you can save us. Before he could ask more, the priest raised his hands. Beams of light came from the walls, wrapping around them both. The crowd began to chant in a strange, old language. John felt the floor move under him. His body became light. His thoughts spun. Strange symbols flashed in his mind, languages he didn't know but somehow understood, places he had never seen. Then it stopped. The light faded, and John had felt different. His skin was warm. His breath felt deeper. Something had changed inside him. The priest closed his book. The bond is complete, he said. John Carter of Earth is now husband to Princess Zayana, royal son-in-law to the High King of Zirion. The hall filled with soft music again. Guests bowed their heads. The king raised a glass. Let this union be the light in our darkest time. But behind the smiles, John saw worry, fear, anger. He was quickly taken away by guards, not with force, but with purpose. The princess followed him through winding halls to a private room. Golden doors closed behind them. He turned to her. What just happened? You became part of the royal bloodline, she said. You are now under protection and danger. John sat down. You said I could save you. From what? From what's coming, she said. From the war that's already begun. She explained quickly. Zirion was once a peaceful empire ruled by ancient codes. But now rebellion was rising. Enemies inside the court, strange disappearances, poisoned leaders. She believed someone in the palace was trying to destroy the throne from within. And what does this have to do with me? John asked. Because you're human, she said. Your mind, your body, your spirit, they are not like ours. That makes you unpredictable. It makes you dangerous to those who plan in the dark. She walked over to a wall and touched it. A hidden door opened. Behind it was a screen showing a strange map of the galaxy. You are not the first human invited here, she said, but you may be the last. What happened to the others? They vanished, she said. No one knows where or why, but they were all part of something big. John stood up. I need answers. Real answers. The princess handed him a small glowing cube. This holds part of the truth, she said, but it will only open when your blood accepts it. Before he could ask more, an alarm rang through the palace. A voice echoed from the walls. Emergency in the West Tower. All guards report. Intruder in the royal wing. The princess grabbed John's hand. They're already here. Who? She looked at him, her voice calm but sharp. The ones who want you dead. They ran through dark halls as the lights flickered. Shadows moved on the walls. Alien guards clashed with black-cloaked enemies. Blasts of energy shook the ground. John picked up a fallen guard's weapon. It felt heavy in his hands, but natural somehow. He turned just in time to block. A strike. His body moved fast, too fast. He knocked the attacker to the ground without thinking. How did I do that? He asked, breathing hard. The princess looked at him with wide eyes. Because your blood is awakening. They escaped into a secret elevator. The door closed just as the attackers reached them. John leaned against the wall. His hands shook. His mind raced. I came here for a wedding, he said. And now I'm in the middle of a war? The princess smiled. Just a little. No, John, she said. You are the war. A human in the royal family. The palace was no longer silent. After the attack on the royal wing, guards were everywhere. Drones floated through the air. Lights blinked red across every hallway. But even in all this chaos, one truth remained. John Carter was no longer just a guest. He was now part of the royal family, married to the princess, linked by an ancient alien bond, and somehow connected to a power no one fully understood. He sat alone in his new chambers, which were more like a temple than a room. Everything glowed. The walls changed color with his mood. A tree grew in the center. Its leaves shimmered like glass. His hands still trembled from the fight, not from fear but from something else. Adrenaline, or something deeper. He looked at the glowing cube the princess had given him. It pulsed, slowly like a heartbeat. It still hadn't opened. What did she mean by when your blood accepts it? Just then the door slid open. A new figure entered. Tall, wearing black armor with silver veins. Not a guard. Not a servant. Who are you? John asked. Royal Advisor Teln, the man replied, voice low and smooth. I was close to the king long before the war whispers began. He didn't bow. He didn't smile. He simply looked at John like he was a puzzle missing too many pieces. You've made quite the entrance, Teln said. You arrive uninvited, disrupt a sacred wedding and survive an elite assassin's blade. Not bad for a human. I didn't ask for any of this, John said. Doesn't matter, Teln replied. Fate doesn't care what you ask for. It only delivers. Teln walked to the tree and touched a leaf. It turned red instantly. The royal bond is old, Mr. Carter. Few understand its true purpose, but you were not chosen by chance. Then, why was I chosen? John asked. Teln's eyes darkened. That is what we must find out, and quickly, before others do. He pointed to the cube in John's hand. That holds your key, but unlocking it will hurt. Hurt how? Like remembering a life you never lived, Teln said, and left without another word. Hours later, Princess Ziana returned. Her face was calm, but her eyes were storming. Vakar has demanded a trial, she said. He says the wedding was a trick. He wants your bond declared invalid. And if that happens? John asked. They'll execute you, she said, to protect the royal line. John shook his head. This is insane. This is politics, she replied. They met with the king that night. He looked weaker now, older than the day before. Something was eating away at him inside. John, the king said softly, you are no longer an outsider. The bond made you part of our blood. But our blood is cursed, and someone inside this palace wants it to end. He handed John an old book, dusty and half-burned. The last human to be chosen, the king said, was named Alan Sar. He came 100 years ago. He vanished before the crowning. John opened the book. Faded sketches showed a man who looked very much like him. Same jaw. Same eyes. Is this real? We don't know where he came from, the king whispered. But we do know what he left behind. He pointed toward the far end of the room, to a sealed door with no handle, just a smooth surface and a single word glowing faintly. Earth. John stepped closer. What's behind that door? The queen, standing behind them, finally spoke. His memories. Suddenly the lights dimmed. Alarms flared again. A shadow moved across the ceiling. Someone had bypassed the royal defenses. This time, they were after the cube. Guards rushed in, but it was too late. A hooded attacker grabbed the glowing cube from John's hands and dashed out the balcony. John didn't think. He ran after them, faster than he thought possible. He leapt across the edge of the platform. His legs moved without command. He was chasing an assassin who glided on a hoverboard. John jumped onto a moving guard drone and launched himself forward. They crashed midair into a glass walkway. John landed hard but rolled up. The attacker stood surprised. You're not supposed to be this fast, the voice hissed. It was female. Sharp and cold, John charged. A blur of movement, fists met energy. The cube fell between them, hitting the ground, and shattered. A blinding white light exploded. John screamed. Visions poured into his mind. Cities on fire. Alien kings kneeling before him. A human army in space armor. A black throne floating in a blood-red sky, and one name, whispered over and over. You are the Awakener. When the light faded, the assassin was gone. John lay on the floor, breathing heavily. The cube's pieces were gone, absorbed into him. Princess Ziana arrived, out of breath. You saw it, didn't you? I saw too much, John said. And I think I've been here before. Her face went pale. Then it's starting. What is? He asked. She touched his face. The prophecy. What prophecy? The one that says a human will return not as a guest, but as a king. Secrets of the Zirian throne, the dreams had changed. Every night since the cube shattered, John saw flashes of a world he didn't recognize, but felt like he belonged to. Metal towers growing from oceans, ships shaped like bones, and war. Always war. He woke up gasping, sweating, heart racing. Each time he remembered just one word from the visions. Throneborn. He had no idea what it meant. Since the attack, the palace had gone quiet. Too quiet. The royal family claimed the security was increased, but John knew what silence really meant. Fear. Princess Ziana stayed close now. Not for love. Not yet. For protection. She kept watching him, studying him, as if she was waiting for something to wake up inside him. One morning, as pale suns rose outside the crystal windows, the door marked Earth opened on its own. John stood frozen in front of it. Last time, it had ignored him completely. This time it glowed blue and whispered softly like it was calling to him. He stepped inside. It was not a room. It was a memory. The air changed. Thicker. Warmer. Lights floated like fireflies. The walls were filled with carvings of stars, ships, and humans, not alien figures. Real humans in armor. Faces full of rage, courage, sadness. A single statue stood at the center. It looked exactly like him. Same eyes. Same face, same scar on the cheek, but the plaque at its feet read, Alan Sar, firstborn of Earth, destroyer of the veil. Traitor. John's hands trembled. This wasn't a coincidence. You are his echo, said a voice behind him. It was the Queen. She moved like a shadow, soft and slow. I thought this would stay hidden longer, she said. But the bond, it opens what we try to bury. John stared at the statue. Who was he? What did he do? He was the first human we Trusted, she said. And the last. She touched the wall. A panel opened. Inside was a journal. Real paper, real ink, very old. Written in English. This belonged to him, she said, before he betrayed us. John opened the journal slowly, page after page filled with writings, thoughts, diagrams, star maps. But one page caught his eye. The throne is not just a seat of power. It is alive. It chooses, and it remembers. Beneath the writing was a symbol, the same one that was on the silver invitation box he received. The Queen stepped closer. There is a story the Zirion people don't know, she said. Our throne is ancient, older than our species. It came from somewhere else, long before us, long before Earth, and it speaks only to blood that remembers war. John looked up. And you think that's me? I don't think, she said. I know. Later that day, Advisor Tellin returned with worse news. The trial has been moved forward, he said. Vicar has the High Council on his side now. They plan to use old laws, ones even the king can't override. And what happens if I lose? John asked. Public execution, Tellin said. Televised ceremonial, with music. Great, John muttered. But Tellin wasn't done. There's one way to stop it, he said. Take the test of the throne. Ziana's eyes went wide. No, that test is forbidden. It hasn't been done in centuries. It can kill him. Which is why it will impress the council, Tellin said. If he survives, they will fear him. Fear keeps peace. John sighed. What kind of test are we talking about? They brought him to the throne vault, hidden deep beneath the palace. A circle of ancient stone, glowing runes, and a single seat in the center. Not made of gold or crystal. It was black stone, pulsing faintly with red lines, like veins. The throne of Zirion, the priest said, appearing from the shadows. Not built by hand, not shaped by tools. It grew from a meteor that fell 1,000,000 years ago. It feeds on mind and memory. Sit, Tellin said, and don't get up until it lets you. John took a deep breath and sat. Immediately, his body locked. His heart stopped, literally. The air froze in his lungs. Visions poured into him, not dreams, not memories. Real experiences, from beings he never met, places he never saw. He became them, one by one. A soldier screaming in the dust of a dead moon. A king ordering the death of his brother. A child watching their planet break apart. And Alan Sar, standing in front of a giant gate whispering, "We were never meant to open it." John screamed. His skin glowed with blue veins. The stone beneath him cracked. The lights above shattered. And just as he was about to black out, the throne whispered one word. Return. He woke up 3 hours later, but he wasn't the same. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. He heard thoughts that weren't his. He felt energy in his hands. His heartbeat was not human anymore. Ziana touched his arm, terrified. Did it speak to you? He nodded. What did it say? He looked at her slowly. It told me to return, he said. But I don't know what or where. Tellin stepped forward. Then we must hurry. If the throne remembers you, others will too, and they will fear what that means. What does it mean? John asked. Tellin's face went pale. It means you weren't chosen, John. You were sent back. The attack begins. The city of Zirion was holding its breath. In the skies above the capital, royal banners danced in the wind, but the silence was wrong. Birds didn't fly. Merchant ships slowed. Patrols doubled. It was the kind of silence that came before something broke. John Carter stood on the balcony of the high chamber, overlooking the shimmering horizon. He didn't feel like himself anymore. He hadn't, not since the throne test. His body had changed. His mind had changed. He could hear things, small things, like the pulse of machines under the palace floor, the whisper of guards as they passed behind closed doors. even the thoughts, of creatures who stared too long at him. His hands, once steady and human, now glowed faintly when he touched certain surfaces. The air around him sometimes shimmered, as if it recognized him. And then there were the visions. The same word came, again and again, return. But return to what? Princess Ziana entered the chamber quietly. She wore no crown today, only black armor, light and sharp. You can feel it too, can't you? She asked. What? The tension, the weight. Something is coming. John nodded. I don't know what, but it's close. Teln, the advisor, arrived a moment later. He no longer smiled. Rebels have breached the lower defense grid, he said. 3 royal towers have gone dark. They're not just attacking, Ziana said. They're hunting. John turned to her. Hunting what? You, she said. The sky cracked open minutes later. A fleet of dark ships came out of the clouds, sharp, long, and silent. No warning, no signal, no declaration of war. They weren't just rebels. They were prepared. The palace shields flickered, once, then died. Explosions followed. The throne city lit up in chaos. The rebels had made their move. John and Ziana ran through the grand halls now bathed in red light. Alarms blared. Soldiers shouted orders in alien tongues. Energy blasts shook the ground. But the deeper they went, the more John noticed something odd. The enemy didn't destroy. They searched. Hallways were untouched. Art was spared. Guards were left alive but unconscious. Whoever had ordered this attack didn't want to win a war. They wanted to capture him. They're after your blood, Teln said, handing John a weapon. Old, heavy, covered in strange markings. The throne linked with you. That makes you the only key to unlock the vault. What vault? The place even the king fears, Ziana whispered. Beneath the palace. Sealed for 1,000 years. John frowned. What's inside it? We don't know, Teln said. But the prophecy says it ends everything, or begins something worse. Before John could speak, a blast hit the chamber doors. The rebels had found them. The fight was. Fast alien attackers swarmed the room. Black armor, glowing blades, voices like static. John moved without thinking. The weapon in his hand came alive, humming, guiding him. He struck faster than he ever had. He dodged blasts he didn't see. He broke weapons with his bare hands. Ziana fought beside him, sharp, elegant, merciless. Together they moved like 2 storms crashing into one. John kicked one rebel to the floor. He removed the attacker's helmet. Underneath was no rebel. It was a royal guard. They've turned, he said. They're not rebels. They're from inside. Ziana's face hardened. The palace has been rotting from within. After the fight, John collapsed against the wall, breath heaving. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from power. Something inside me is waking up, he said. Teln nodded. Then we must act fast. If you're becoming what Alan Sar once was, we can't let the others reach the vault first. What did Alan do? John asked again. He opened something, Ziana said. Something. The throne sealed long ago. Something that was never supposed to return. They made their way down, past layers of palace floors most never knew existed, into forgotten tunnels under statues of gods long erased from history, and at the lowest level they found the vault. A door taller than a ship, smooth as glass, humming softly. Written across it were human words, not alien ones. The gate of origin. Only blood awakened may pass. John stepped forward. The door pulsed. His hand touched the center, and the door dissolved into dust. Inside was darkness, and a whisper, "Welcome back." But they weren't alone. From the shadows, a figure stepped into the light. Black cloak, tall, face hidden, but the voice was human. "We've been waiting, John." John raised the weapon. "Who are you?" The figure pulled back the hood. It was a man, with John's face. Older. Scarred. "My name," the figure said, "was Alan Sar." Ziana gasped. "You're supposed to be dead," she said. Alan shook his head. "Death doesn't apply to us anymore, not once we've touched the throne." John stared at him. "What do you want?" Alan smiled sadly. "To finish what I started," he said, "and to stop you from making the same mistake." The truth about his past inside the vault: time didn't move like the world above. The walls weren't made of stone or metal, they were living memory. Patterns pulsed like veins, glowing dimly, responding to John's presence. The air was thick but not heavy. It felt aware. John stood face to face with the man who wore his face, Alan Sayre. Older, colder, and carrying the weight of something dark behind his eyes. "You're not just like me," Alan said. "You are me, a fragment, a version, a spark of what I used to be before the throne broke me." John couldn't speak. His mind was trying to understand what he was hearing, and what his instincts already knew. "You died," Sayana said, eyes wide. "You vanished 100 years ago." "That's what they wanted you to believe," Alan replied. "I entered the gate, and I came out changed." Alan turned and walked deeper into the vault. The walls shifted around them, showing scenes, visions, echoes. One showed Earth, but not as John knew it. Cities destroyed, skies red, machines walking over broken ground. "What is this?" John whispered. "Possible futures," Alan replied. "Some already happened. Some still can." Another vision showed humans fighting aliens, not Ziraeon, but other races. Everywhere John saw one symbol, the same that was on the invitation box. The 3-star circle. "This symbol," John said. "It followed me since the beginning." Alan nodded. "It's older than Ziraeon, older than Earth. It's the mark of the first builders, beings who seeded worlds, tested species, and watched what would rise." John looked confused. "Why am I tied to them?" "Because you carry what they left behind," Alan said. "Their legacy and their curse." They reached the heart of the vault, a chamber shaped like a star with 5 doors sealed shut. In the center was a chair, floating, black, humming. "This is the true throne," Alan said. "Not the one above. This one doesn't rule people, it rules memory. Sit on it and you'll see the past not as stories but as truth." John hesitated. "You said the throne broke you," he said. "Why would I sit in it?" "Because if you don't," Alan said, "you'll never understand who you really are, or what's coming for you." Ziana stepped forward. "John, this could kill you." John looked at her. "Or it could explain everything." He sat. The room vanished. Suddenly, John was in space. No body, just awareness. He saw planets rise and fall. He saw Earth, young and green, watched over by alien eyes. He saw the first human lifted into the stars not by technology, but by invitation. He saw Alan Sayre, younger, proud, chosen, but power changed him. He tried to use the throne to save Earth from a coming war, but the throne demanded more than loyalty. It demanded sacrifice, and when Alan refused, it split him. Pieces of him scattered through time and bloodlines. John was one of them, not his descendant, his echo. John gasped as he returned to the room. Alan stood before him, silent. "So I'm not human?" John asked. "You are," Alan said, "but more. You're a hybrid of memory and flesh. Your mind is your own, but your soul was shaped long before you were born." John felt hollow, full, broken, powerful, all at once. Ziana sat beside him. "Then what now?" Alan's voice darkened. "Now, the throne wants to reunite." "With what?" "With itself." Alan walked to one of the doors. He placed his hand on it. A blast of light surged through the chamber. The door shook, then cracked. "When all 5 doors are opened," Alan said, "the gate will rise, and with it the builder's final test." "What test?" John asked. Alan turned to him slowly. Whether your kind deserves to survive. Before John could answer, alarms blared again. Talon's voice echoed in from the palace above. John, we're under full siege. Vakar's forces have broken the inner ring. The king is dying. John stood up. Alan blocked his path. You can't stop this war, he said. They want your death. They fear what you might become. John's fists clenched. Maybe they should. Zayana raised her blade. Move. Alan stepped aside. Just remember, every step you take now is a choice. Not between life and death, but between what kind of god you'll become. They raced back to the surface. The palace was burning. Smoke curled into the stars. Rebel ships hovered above the towers. Explosions lit the sky like lightning. John didn't hesitate. His body moved faster than before. He jumped from platform to platform, firing blasts from his hands he didn't even know he could create. Soldiers turned in fear. He landed on the central tower. Vakar stood there wearing stolen royal armor, blade drawn. Your reign ends here, human, Vakar said. Never wanted a throne, John replied, but I'll defend it if I have to. They clashed. The fight was brutal. Vakar's blade was fast, but John's power was raw, uncontrolled but alive. Every strike from Vakar was answered by a shockwave of force. Stone cracked beneath their feet. John began to see flashes, not of the fight, but of possible futures. One, where he ruled Zirion, one where he burned it down, one where Earth fell, and one where he walked away. Vakar's final strike came. John caught the blade mid-air with one glowing hand. His eyes turned completely white. I remember who I am now. With a roar, he crushed the blade, and Vakar collapsed unconscious. The city fell quiet. Rebels surrendered. The king, barely breathing, smiled as John returned. You are the bridge, he whispered, between what we were and what we must become. And then, the king died. As dawn broke, John stood on the throne balcony, looking over the ruins of war. Zayana came beside him. They'll name you king now. I'm not here to rule, John said. Then why are you here, she asked. He looked up at the stars. To finish what he started, he said, but not like him. Not as a god, as something better. The human king dawn touched the sky of Zirion for the first time after the war. The city below was silent, bruised and smoking. Towers leaned, gardens burned, but the people had survived. Not because of their king, who was now dead. Not because of their army, broken and scattered. They survived because of him. John Carter, a man who had once been just an engineer on a human space station. Now, he was legend. But he didn't feel like a hero. He stood alone in the Chamber of Light, the ancient throne room above the vault, where thousands had come before him. No guards, no audience, just echoes of the past and the final decision waiting before him. The 5 doors in the vault below had begun to hum. The gate of origin was waking. Princess Zayana found him, as she always did, calm, steady, dangerous, in a different way. They're waiting, she said softly. For what? He asked. Your answer. The High Council of Zirion had gathered in the circle chamber. Alien nobles, soldiers, scientists, priestesses, and now humans too, diplomats sent from Earth, finally allowed into Zirion airspace after the rebellion fell. Advisor Telm stood at John's side. He had once doubted him. Now he bowed his head. The galaxy changes today, Telm whispered. John stepped forward. He looked out at them all. I didn't come here to lead, he began. I came because of a mistake, or so I thought. But I've seen the truth. This throne is more than a seat. It's a gate, a test, and a weapon. The council murmured. John continued. You've all believed the builders left us gifts, but they didn't. They left warnings. They left the question. Can power be trusted in the hands of those who remember suffering? I know what the gate will offer me. I've seen it. He paused, then said the unthinkable. It offers godhood. Gasps echoed through the room. Ziana stepped forward, alarmed. What do you mean? The throne is not Zirion's alone, John said. It was never meant to stay here. It's a living artifact seated across galaxies. It scans minds, blood, history. It waits until someone carries enough memory, enough war, enough loss, to unlock it fully. And what happens then? Teln asked. John's eyes went dark. It rebuilds everything. Beneath the palace, the 5 sealed doors began to open, one by one. Huge pulses of ancient energy rippled outward. Stars dimmed for half a second across nearby systems. Machines across Zirion flickered. It's calling me, John whispered. Don't go alone, Sayana said, placing her hand on his. I have to, he replied. This part only remembers me. He descended into the vault again. Alan Sauer waited by the final door, his face hollow. You're going to take the gift, aren't you? Alan asked. John shook his head. No, I'm going to understand it. Alan stepped back. And if you can't handle it? John looked him in the eyes. Then let me burn, not the universe. He stepped into the final chamber, the gate of origin. Inside, there was no floor, no sky, just energy, raw, infinite, whispering in every language ever spoken. The builders weren't gone. They were here, in this place, or at least their code, their memory, their judgment. A single voice, not male or female, not kind or cruel, echoed inside his skull. You carry the memory of destruction, the heart of division, the soul of creation. Will you choose to rise? John stood tall. I choose to remain. The light dimmed. Explain. I won't become a god, John said. I won't rewrite the universe in my image. I've seen what that does. You saw it too. Then what do you offer? Something none of you ever truly tested. He took a breath. Mercy. The gate pulsed. It didn't close. It didn't open fully either. It paused. The builder's voice returned. This is not the expected answer. That's the point, John said. I'm human. And the gate bowed. Not in submission, but in respect. The chamber faded. He returned to the palace above, but he wasn't glowing, wasn't changed, and yet everyone could feel it. He had passed the test, not with power, but with choice. In the days that followed, peace settled over Zirion. The throne room was sealed, the gate, watched but untouched. John refused the crown. He and Ziana didn't rule. They led. Not as royals, but as bridges. Between species, between past and future. A ship was sent to Earth with John's final message. We were invited, not to conquer, not to rule, but to remember. The stars don't need gods. They need people willing to be human, even when they can be more. And somewhere far beyond the galaxy, another throne stirred awake. Another gate opened, a single glowing eye, and whispered, another has remembered. Soon, the others will rise.